What's going on, guys? So today's video is going to be kind of an interesting one, especially if you're a GM truck owner. Now, a lot of you probably have already read or already found out that some GM trucks built in 2024 and later, or at least 2024 models and later, are having an issue with their roofs splitting. Yeah, you heard me right. This is a weird issue, and it's one that I've really never heard of in the truck industry before, but I have a feeling I know what's happening and why it's happening. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so in front of us is our 2023 GMC Sierra Denali 1500 pickup truck with the Duramax engine in it. And this is kind of concerning to me as well because I don't think there was any structural change to the cab of the 2023 model versus the 2024 model. And this recall actually affects all of them. And it's not really a recall per se. It's a inspect it, see if it's happening, and if it's happening, this is what you do to resolve it. And the resolution, I think, has to just be kind of a patch to fix the few trucks that they believe are having this problem. Perhaps it was a mold issue, perhaps it was something with how the panels were designed, but with trucks basically using high-strength steel now as the majority of the steel used in the panels, you run into two physical characteristic problems of high-strength steel that you just don't encounter as much with mild-strength steel. And that's the fact that when you make high-strength steel, it tends to be thinner, and it tends to be a little bit more brittle. And what I mean by brittle is the ability for it to expand and contract, or for it to bend and return back to its original shape, is a little more compromised in the sense that because the steel is stronger, think of it like glass versus plastic. You tend to run into scenarios where it doesn't give as much as if it were mild steel. Now, the problem that GM says is happening, and I think it affects approximately like 3,000 or a little more than 3,000 trucks that have been produced. And again, I sure hope we don't encounter this issue in 2023 models because I don't know what they've changed. I don't think there's been any difference unless there's been some mechanical difference in how they're producing the steel, or how they're forming the steel, or how they're cutting the steel, or the thickness of the steel. I don't really know, but let me show you what's going on. Okay, so this area right here, basically where the roof meets the side assembly, it's typically welded together. They might use an adhesive as well, I'm not exactly sure. But a cracking can occur right here where this joint meets, basically where the top panel meets this side panel. And that crack turns into a hairline crack, and the fix for it for them is basically just to drill out the ends and then weld it back. And I don't know if that is a permanent fix, or if this crack could occur on the other side, or how this crack is actually occurring. But typically a crack like that occurs because there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of flexing back and forth. And that flexing back and forth can obviously cause the steel to eventually become brittle, metal fatigue, and then it fails. And again, I'm not sure why it's happening specifically on 2024 models, and it's on 1500s all the way up to, I think, the 3500 dualies. So any truck that shares that cab configuration is potentially going to have that problem in 2024. Again, I don't know what the differences are between a 2023 and a 2024 model Chevy and GMC truck versus a 2024 model, you know, Chevy and GMC truck that could experience the problem, but I imagine it would be very, very subtle. Now, this is interesting because, you know, I play drums, and I think I've told people that in the past, and when you have a cymbal and it starts to crack, and I've never actually cracked a cymbal, but I know people do, that crack will continue to run until you drill a small hole in it, and that hole essentially rounds it off to prevent that crack from continuing. And that's essentially what they're doing here. They want you to drill a hole at each end of that crack, and then that prevents it from running further, and then to seal it up, they weld it, and then they paint it, and then they cover it with this trim again. How do you guys feel about that? I can imagine that if you have a 2024 truck, you would not want that to be the fix. You'd want something else happened. I can imagine a lot of people are going to be screaming to have their truck replaced, but you know, honestly, if you get your truck replaced, is it going to potentially have the same issue versus just fixing it? If the fix is done properly, it probably will be a forever fix. You probably don't have to worry about it. But my question is even if you weld that, what flex, what deformation is happening in that area to actually cause the metal to fatigue and eventually crack? If it's only happening on 2024 models, what was done different on the 2024 model to allow it to specifically flex in that one area and flex so much and deform until it actually cracks that it won't happen again, or that the problem isn't tied to something else. Because that's a confusing area. That's actually a pretty high stress area of the vehicle because it's a major component of how the cab and the structure of the body are put together. So again, what's happening in that area to cause a hairline crack to form across it in that manner that a 2023 model or a 2022 model that has a very similar cab configuration wouldn't experience? Now, this is a really interesting one for me because I was going to keep this as a surprise, but one of the purchases we were going to make in 2024 was to buy a 2024 GMC or Chevy 2500 HD single rear wheel truck with the 6.6 liter gas engine. And that was going to be our year-long vehicle that we purchased in 2024. We were actually going to keep this and we were going to trade another vehicle in, but yeah, for 2024, that was going to be the vehicle that we purchased. And I was really hunting one down and trying to find one that I would like. I did not want to get it in a high trim package. I wanted to get it in a mid-level trim package because that was going to be something that we wanted to evaluate. We didn't want to spend over $65,000 on it as well, which, believe it or not, that's a very hard thing to do. It's hard to find those trucks in a configuration that's available at a dealership lot for under $65,000. But that was going to be our next one-year evaluation vehicle that we purchased. And now we're going to pump the brakes on it because we want to wait and see what GM's going to do with the fix to the top of their 2024 model trucks, and preferably not get a truck that could even happen to, right? Wait until a truck is released that's not going to be an issue with. So my question to you all is, what truck would you like to see on this channel in 2024? Because we're now having to reevaluate the truck that we wanted. Believe it or not, we actually ordered the truck that we wanted, and the dealership said, you know what, if it comes in and you find one before it comes in and you want that one instead, you can get that. But right now, if you want that specific truck, you're going to have to order it. So we did, and I called the dealership yesterday and told them that we're going to hold off for now, and they completely understood and agreed with us. They didn't take a deposit or anything. But what truck should we get for 2024 now? What truck do you all think would be a great evaluation vehicle that we could use on the channel for a year to kind of show you what its capabilities are, how it tows, how it handles payload, how it drives, how it is to live with for a year? Please let me know. Leave a comment below. But yeah, I'm very curious to find out what specifically is causing the crack to occur on 2024 model trucks. Is it just where those specific panels came out of? Is it some type of a manufacturing defect during the processing of the materials for those panels on just a few models of the truck? Like I said, I really would like to find out what specifically has caused the panel to fail, because I think that's a more important question. What stress is occurring? Unless, again, during the engineering and manufacturing of that panel, it's designed to be able to handle that stress, but there was some type of a manufacturing defect for a certain number of samples that made it onto trucks, and they just need to go through those, fix those, and then the problem's resolved. I'd love to know. Leave a comment below. I'd love to know what you think of this issue and if this is something that concerns you. Anyways, guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.